Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. Today's video is going to be a really quick one. I filmed a full face first impression one branded video using only Catrice products not that long ago, and I mentioned to you in that video how similar the Romantic Gardens face and cheek palette was to some of the Benefit bronzers, highlighters and blushes I have. So I wanted to film a really quick video and just basically compare them side by side on the face and swatch them on the back of my hand to show you what I meant by that statement. So yeah, basically we're gonna do kinda like a dupe review, even though I don't think that this product was meant to be a dupe of Benefit face palettes at all, but the shades are just so similar that if you are interested in these particular shades from Benefit, this could be a really good replacement in case you just don't have the kind of money to buy one of these Benefit face palettes. So I have two palettes here from Benefit. One of them is the Pink Squad and the other one is the Bronze Squad palette. Most shades are going to be from the Bronze Squad palette, except two shades that are from the Pink Squad. We're gonna jump right into it and I'm gonna show you one by one which shades I feel like you could dupe with the Romantic Gardens palette. So once again, this is how the Romantic Gardens palette looks like. You have three blushes in this palette. You have a matte orangey shade, you have a matte bronzer shade, you have two pinks which are both somewhat shimmery. The first one is a lighter pink. This one also has a golden shine to it, and the other one is just like a nice glowy blush. And then in the middle you also have two highlighters. I would say that the bottom one is more like a typical highlighter and the top one is like a light shade. It does seem like a completely matte light shade that you can use to brighten up areas of the face, but once you start using it, it actually looks like it has a lot of pink to it and not the kind of pink that you want to use for highlighting. So this one actually looks more like a subtle highlighter, a not too shimmery pink highlighter, if that makes sense. We are going to swatch every single shade from this palette today, and I'm going to try to find similar shades from the two Benefit Squad palettes for you. So first off, of course, we're going to start with the bronzer. I'm going to swatch this quickly on the back of my hand for you. So this is how the bronzer looks like from the Catrice palette. As you can see, it's really pigmented and really good quality. When I used it the first time, I was actually quite concerned about this shade because, like I said, it is really pigmented, and with face products, that's something you want to be really careful with, because sometimes being too pigmented can be a bad thing, because if you won't be able to blend it out, or if you are not able to control how much product you put on, it can end up looking really bad and you can end up looking like a clown. So if you are just starting off with makeup, I would actually suggest that you try to find more sheer face products or products that are harder to build up, because this way, even if it takes more time to build it up to the desired coverage, you will be able to control how much you get. That was actually my main issue previously when I was using the Anastasia Beverly Hills contour kit, that it was just too pigmented, and I feel like with this face palette as well, you can go overboard really quickly, so you need to be careful with these shades. Now the shade Hula is in both of the palettes. This is Hula in the Pink Squad palette and this is Hula in the Bronze Squad palette. I'm gonna swatch Hula next to this bronze shade for you, just to show you how similar they are, and just in case you are interested, I'm also gonna swatch Hula Caramel and Dallas next to these, and I'm actually going to put Hula Caramel on top of this shade. As you can see, it is slightly darker than the shade from the Catrice palette. And I'm gonna do Dallas under Hula. Dallas is my personal favorite. As you can see, they are all quite similar. I would say that the Catrice one is slightly more yellow than Hula. Dallas is definitely a lot more pink, and that's why it is my personal favorite. And obviously Caramel is a lot darker, even though as far as the tone goes, it is quite similar to the Catrice one. But if you look at the two middle shades, they are definitely very, very similar. So I'm gonna be using the Catrice palette on this side of the face because this is where I normally use the cheaper palettes. And I'm gonna take some of the bronzer, not too much, because like I said, this one is actually really pigmented. I hardly even touched my brush to the shade, and I already got this much product out of it, so you definitely don't need a lot. I'm also gonna do my forehead and the usual areas of the face where I normally put bronzer. And as we discussed, on the other side of the face, I'm gonna be using the shade Hula. So I'm taking some of Hula now. I don't need to be as careful with Hula because this is definitely more controllable, even though I must say that the Catrice one is easier to blend. That was my one problem with Hula since the beginning of time, that I find it quite hard to blend, and I think that's not quite a good thing about bronzer. I much prefer the Too Faced Milk Chocolate bronzer I have. I think that one is absolutely gorgeous, but because it is in a palette and I quite like the blushes and the highlighters that they have in these squad palettes, I have been using Hula quite a lot lately just because it's so convenient that it's already in the palette, so I don't need to go and grab my bronzer separate. But I definitely think that there are better bronzers than this out there. So that's the bronzer so far. I honestly don't think that anyone could tell that these are two different bronzers. Obviously, I'm not gonna be able to use all three of these blushes on my cheeks today, so I decided that I'm gonna use the two pink shades on my eyes. I don't know if that's gonna work, but I'm gonna try anyways, because I still want to show you how they look like on the face, but I already know that I want to use this shade on my cheeks because I just love that shade. So I'm going to take this shade and I'm going to show you quickly which shade is the most similar to it from the Pink Squad palette. So this is the shade from the Catrice palette. As you can see, it definitely does have a bit of a sheen to it. It's a quite nice pinky blush. Now the shade that's the most similar to it doesn't actually have any shine to it, so you might say that it's a bit of a stretch, but I find that Dandelion is the one that's the most similar to this color. Maybe if I would want to try to recreate the same shade, I would use Dandelion and then I would top it up with a bit of Tickle, because I feel like Tickle has the same kind of shine that the shade from the Catrice palette did. So I'm gonna take some of Dandelion. As you can see, it's a quite similar shade. I would even say that it has a tiny bit of sheen to it. Definitely not as much as the shade from the Catrice palette did, but it does have a little bit. However, it does have more purple in it as well, which makes it a lot more muted. So I definitely wouldn't call them identical, but this is the closest shade from Benefit. And as I was saying, I don't want to use all of these shades on my cheeks, so I'm gonna be using the pink shade from Catrice on my eyelid. It might sound a bit crazy that I'm just going in with this light pink shade on my lid all over, but this is just for demonstration purposes. And on the other side of the face, I'm taking Dandelion to do the same. I would say that the Catrice side appears to be slightly more pink, but it's really not a huge difference, honestly. And because we applied them on the eyes, you obviously cannot really tell that one of them is more shiny either, so I feel like they appear to be quite similar. Like I said, there is another pink shade in this palette that we're not going to be able to use on the cheeks today, and that is this darker pink shade. This one is really pigmented, so if you have a lighter skin and you're thinking about using this one, please be really careful with how much product you apply. And obviously the shade most similar to it from the Squat palette is definitely California. This color is going to be a lot more pink and a lot more out there than the one on my hand, but I feel like they are going to be quite similar. So here goes California. Yes, just like I thought, it is a lot more pink than the other one. Just out of curiosity and for a fair comparison, I'm also going to swatch Gold Rush next to those two shades. Gold Rush is honestly my favorite shade to use when I'm looking for a really beautiful subtle blush. So I'm gonna swatch it here on top of the shade. As you can see, this is more orange and I feel like it's lighter as well. However, it has the same kind of sheen to it than the shade from the Catrice palette has. So I actually think that if you wanted to achieve this shade, you would need to use California and top it up with Gold Rush and you would get the same shade. So I'm gonna add this darker pink just to the outer corner of the eye. And on the Benefit side, I'm gonna be using California. I feel like even though Dandelion was a lot more subtle than the Catrice shade, California definitely makes up for that and turns this side a lot more pink than the other side is. And I can confirm that these pink shades don't look flattering on the eyes at all. I actually feel like I look like I'm really ill. And now back to the shades that we're actually going to be using on the face. The next shade is going to be this beautiful orange blush. Let me just swatch it for you on my hand. Now obviously again, Gold Rush is definitely a very close shade to this, but I feel like the winner is definitely going to be Coralista, so I'm gonna swatch Coralista next to it. So that is Coralista. Coralista is definitely lighter. I'm also going to swatch Gold Rush once again. Gold Rush actually looks almost identical to the Catrice shade. I'm actually a bit surprised about that because in the pan this shade looks exactly like this shade, so I thought they are gonna be exactly the same, but no, actually this shade is more like this shade. So we are gonna be using Gold Rush and this orange shade today. I'm gonna do the orange shade on this side first, and then Gold Rush on this side. Yes, they are identical, honestly. So like I said before, I don't have a dupe for this shade. I don't think Benefit has anything even similar to that shade, but I do have this shade in one of the Benefit palettes, and that is actually one of everyone's favorite highlighters from Benefit. So I'm gonna swatch this highlighter very quickly on the back of my hand. Once again, this beauty is from Catrice. And if you haven't figured it by now, the shade that is duping is the Cookie highlighter from Benefit. That's been everyone's favorite. And guys, this one is basically an identical match. So here is Cookie next to that shade. And I mean, honestly, maybe the Catrice one is slightly more orange, just slightly, but I think this is as identical as it gets. They are just so similar and they're equally as gorgeous. They are honestly both so beautiful. So I'm gonna be using the Catrice one on this side of the face, and I'm also gonna add some to my inner corner. And on the Benefit side, I'm gonna be using Cookie and again add it to my inner corner. Alright guys, so I just very quickly went off camera and added some eyeliner, mascara and lipstick to kind of finish this look, even though I just wanted to use these shades on my face to show you how they actually look like when you're using them compared to the Benefit ones. I still wanted to complete the look to not end up looking completely silly by the end of the video. Anyways, as you can see, the two sides of the face look technically identical. So if you have ever been interested in the shades Gold Rush, Hula, Cookie, Dandelion and California, but you didn't have the money to pick them up, I would highly suggest you having a look at the Catrice Romantic Gardens palette, because I feel like it's a gorgeous little palette. As I mentioned in my previous video, I personally purchased it for £13. However, I have seen it in TK Maxx recently for £4, so that is an amazing price right now. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I would love to have you here. And until next time, take care of yourself. I will see you very soon. Bye.